First thing you'll need to do when preparing your neck is to plane it down flat. To plane, you'll need a stop block. The easy way to do this is to screw a scrap piece of wood into your workbench. And you'll just slide your neck right up against it. You can also use a vise if you have one available. When planing, you want to start with pressure on the front handle of the plane and move your way through your cut. Halfway through, you'll transfer pressure to the back and push the rest of the way through. If you start with your weight on the back handle, you'll push up and take more off the front edge. And if you end with pressure on the front of the plane, you're going to chip off the other end. This will create two low spots and a big bow in the middle. Then just plane your neck down as flat as you can get it. Make sure to keep the plane as close to your body as you can. That way you get the most leverage possible. After the initial planing, check it against the straight edge to see if you have any gaps. You can see I have one there. You'll mark the high spots with a pencil. Go back and plane them down, and then you'll check again. Keep going back, marking the high spots, planing them down until you get it as flat as possible. Another way to get your neck flat is to create a sanding board. First, you'll get a flat piece of wood, spray some spray adhesive on it. Once the spray adhesive dries, you'll place a couple pieces of sandpaper side by side. Make sure not to overlap them so you don't have any high spots on your sanding board. Then just trim off the excess. There you go, you're good to go. You can then take your piece and just slide it back and forth, making sure to keep even pressure. As you see, it'll give you a nice, even surface. You can also use this technique to finish off your planing if you can't get it exactly flat. This is one way to make your headstock. First, you'll make an even line 2/3 to 3/4 the depth of the neck. Mark that line all the way down. Then you're going to mark where you want that to stop. You'll move your straight edge up against the line you marked on the side and then mark the top all the way across. You use the same technique to transfer it onto the other side of the headstock. Then you'll make another even 2/3 to 3/4 the depth of the neck. And then transfer that line across the top from one side all the way to the other, so that you have a continuous line running over the headstock. Then clamp it in your vise and slowly start to saw down along the side of the line. Don't go on the line, but saw on the waist side of your piece, the part that you're not going to need. Slowly cut most of the way down, checking as you go to make sure that you're lined up on the top and both sides as you cut. Flip your headstock and cut along the line on the flat part of the neck. Go slowly and make sure you cut right up to the lines on the sides. Check both sides as you cut down so you don't go too far. Then flip your neck back up and finish the cut on the long side. You can use a chisel to clean up the corner if it's a little rough from the sawing. Then take some sandpaper and clean off the saw marks from your headstock. That's it, you're done. You'll drill holes in this place later for the tuners. Another option is to create an angled headstock. This way is a little more involved, but it looks more like the traditional headstock on the guitar. Place your speed square on the pivot point at the corner and tilt it until you see it lines up with the 75-degree marker. Then you'll take your speed square and you'll transfer a line from the point where the angle meets the top of the neck all the way across. You'll do this on the other side as well. Just slide your speed square up and mark it. Then you'll take your square and transfer those lines just a little onto the short side of your neck. Then line up those 2 points and scribe a line. Then you'll see you have a continuous line all the way around the neck with angles that match on each side. Then again, you'll clamp it in the vise. You'll start a little groove going perpendicular to the board. Once you cut that groove, you have a place for your saw to be put in at the correct angle. Then just cut through the neck, making sure to keep your saw lined up with the lines on both sides of the neck. Once you have your cut, go back to your sanding board and sand the saw marks off your neck. You'll want this part to be as flat as possible so that you can glue the other piece to it. Use a combination of straight strokes and circles to get as flat as possible. Check with your other piece to make sure it lines up nicely. Once you get it close, you'll put the piece on the sanding board and draw it straight back. This prevents you from tilting it back and forth and getting high and low spots on the front and back. Rip off a piece of masking tape long enough to wrap around the neck at least twice. Then place your neck onto the masking tape. Put some glue on the angled part of the neck and on the flat part of your headstock. Make sure to spread it around so that you get good adhesion on both pieces. Then place them together and wrap the tape around, all the while making sure the head is aligned and there is good contact between the pieces. Once it's dry, you can come back, take off the tape, and sand the whole piece flat. Now if you notice, I have some gaps. You likely will have some too. A good trick to fill these gaps is to make some wood filler. Save the sawdust from your sanding and mix it with a little bit of glue. You can use a popsicle stick to mix it up. Continue adding sawdust or glue until you have a nice pasty consistency like peanut butter. Then you'll go and you'll fill the cracks with this mixture, scraping off the excess. Once that's dry, you can go back and sand off the excess. Next, we need to prepare the fretboard to be glued onto the neck. Again, when planing, you'll need some sort of stop to keep your piece from moving. A good option for this is a ruler because it's thinner than your fretboard and your plane can pass right over top of it. Move the piece for your fretboard right up against the ruler and plane it down just like you did the neck. Next, you're going to cut it down to its final length. Measure out the board to the predetermined length. Then take your speed square and transfer that mark across the width of the fretboard. A good way to make a nice straight mark is to use a miter bar. This keeps your saw nice and straight as you cut, but you can also do this just by cutting very carefully along the line. When you go to glue up your fretboard to your guitar neck, make sure you have all your supplies ready. Here I'm using an index card folded in half to spread the glue out so I don't have to get it on my finger. Make sure you have even coverage along the length of the neck. Then you're going to want to add clamps along the length of the neck. Make sure as you add them that the fretboard stays lined up with the neck. It can easily shift with the glue underneath. And come back with a damp paper towel to clean up any glue. This will save you time cleaning it up later. That's it.